Is there really a difference between being motivated and being inspired? I want to talk about that today. I'm Patrick Bay David, your host of Valuetainment. You know, a lot of times we hear the words, he's such a great motivator, you know, I'm inspired. And we don't really know the difference between motivation and inspiration, right? So, you know, we think we're motivated, but we're really inspired. We're inspired, but we're really motivated. So what is the really real difference? And when that question was asked for me, one thing came to my mind right off the bat. To me, the biggest difference between motivation and inspiration is lifespan. Lifespan of that feeling, of that emotion. Let me explain. So, whatever emotion of excitement or wanting to take action that lasts longer, it's inspiration. Whatever is shorter, it's motivation. For instance, you know, if you find yourself saying, I'm good at staying excited for 1 day or 2 days or a week or 2 weeks, but for whatever reason, I can't stay excited for 90 days or a year or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. That's because you've only figured out how to motivate yourself. You have not figured out how to inspire yourself. Very, very big difference. Look, to simplify in my understanding to me on what motivation is versus inspiration, motivation is a lot of making statements. Inspiration is about asking questions. So if you want to motivate somebody, would say things like, you can do it, you're great, you're awesome, this is for you, you're going to go make a difference. You know, that's a lot of motivation. A lot of inspiration is, what do you want to do? You know, where do you want to go? Why are you doing this? So think about the most popular motivation phrase in the world that we've all used or heard before is what? You can do it, right? Just like from this scene in this movie.
You can do it!
As funny as Rob Schneider is in Waterboy, you know, you can do it is being used in many different movies, right? But, you know, if I was to think about what question is a question that makes us think, you know, what is a most common question to ask to inspire somebody is what? Is what do you want? Just like in this scene, which is the most powerful scene to me in this movie, Notebook, when he asks the question from her.
What easy way? There is no easy way. No matter what I do, somebody gets hurt.
Would you stop thinking about what everyone wants? Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
You know why I love this scene? I love this scene because I've seen it so many times. Noah just doesn't stop. And, you know, you have Allie on one end where her parents, you know, are trying to motivate her and they want her to do what they want her to do, not what she wants to do. Motivate to marry the right guy, you know, marry the right this and all this kind of stuff. And Noah tried motivating so long and it didn't work. And he just said, look, what do you want? And when you inspire people, it all becomes about them, less about you. You're inspiring them. What do you want? What is it worth you making a decision and giving everything you got in your life to go after one thing? What do you want? Not, you can do this, you can do it, you can do this, all this stuff. Because remember, a motivator doesn't necessarily inspire others. But someone who inspires automatically motivates others, because you're sitting there and a person start asking questions, you know, what's your purpose of living? Meaning, you know, when you sit there and you think about all the events that happen in your life. On one of my flights, I was coming back and I started writing on this flight, one of the most incredible exercises. I started writing the most difficult things that ever happened in my life that impacted me emotionally, whether it's my insecurities, my fears, my flaws, my vice, my challenges, my mistakes. And everyone's got it. We don't want to talk about this, but everyone's got it, right? And I made a list. Very emotional flight. I have those notes till today. Events, days I clearly remember that crushed me or hurt me or challenged me or whatever it was. And I started connecting the dots. You know, this happened because of this. That happened because of this. This happened because of this. maybe there's a bigger picture to the whole thing. Maybe there's a bigger picture to the whole thing. And why did this happen? What about this? What do I want? What motivates you? What fires you up? What gets you going? That's the questions to ask, to inspire you to realize the bigger calling in life. You know, I got 2 books I want to share with you here. One of them is The Accidental Millionaire. You know why I love this book, The Accidental Millionaire? I love Accidental Millionaire because Lee Butcher, who wrote this book, he wrote this book and it did very well during that time because he wrote it right after Steve Jobs got fired. And if you read this book, the reason why I love this book is because he writes the book without the story being finished yet. See, he writes the book, The Rise and Fall of Steve Jobs at Apple Computers. You can tell when you read it, the author doesn't like the character, which is Steve Jobs. But what he doesn't understand, this Lee Butcher guy, what he doesn't understand is Steve Jobs was inspired. And you know what can stop somebody who's inspired and the inspirational level is very high? You know what can stop it? Very few things. Very, very few things. I'm talking, Armageddon and things like that. Very few. You can't get in the way of a human being who is genuinely and sincerely inspired. You can write whatever you want about that person, criticize them a million different times, spread a million different rumors. You can't stop somebody who's inspired. You cannot stop somebody who's inspired. You cannot. Like this other book called The Answer to History by the Shah of Iran, when he wrote this book. He wrote this book right before he passed away. So he's got cancer. He's on his deathbed. He's about to pass away. He writes this book. And one of the reasons why I love this book, a chapter of it, I can't read this book enough times. It says, a little later in summer, I fell, a little later during summer on my way to Imamzadeh Daoud, a place of pilgrimage in the mountains, I fell from my horse, on the rocks and passed out. I was taken for dead, but I had not so much as a scratch. In falling, I had a vision of one of our saints, Abbas, who cradled me as I fell. And he continues, this dream and vision were followed sometime later by an appreciation for Shamiran Royal Palace. And he explains, it continues, and in chapter 6 he says this. Under her tutelage, I began dreaming dreams unusual for a boy my age. He's talking about his French teacher who taught him how to speak French and many different things in life. And he says, but then I already knew that I would not lead the life of an ordinary boy. Thus I dreamed of making my country's peasants happy and having every man judged by the laws, by just laws. These were dreams that never left me, never, inspiration, never left me, in which to a large degree I managed to realize later in life. He was asking questions about his life. Who am I? Why is my father Reza Khan? Why do I have a boy? Why am I in this situation here? Why is Iran going through this mess? Iran used to be one of the most beautiful places in the world. The wealthiest people used to go to Iran for vacation. Frank Sinatra would do concerts there. Elizabeth Taylor would go there and visit, the ambassador Zahedi, and a lot of things would happen with Iran. It was one of the top 3 countries in the world for tourism in the 70s. What happened? He was inspired. A man was inspired. You couldn't stop neither one of them. They both died from cancer in their 50s. They were inspired. They were not motivated. When you're inspired, motivation is automatic. When you're inspired and it's a bigger calling, and the way you know it is how long you stay excited. I am really excited. That means it's real inspiration. Oh, I'm not excited today. You're not inspired. You're just motivated. Many years ago, I was thinking about becoming a motivational speaker. Okay, so I was looking up to this guy and I said, one day I want to become a motivational speaker. And then when it came down to it, I had an interview in San Diego at 6:30 in the morning. The lady called Cynthia. Hey, we want to hire you. We're going to give you a multi-6-figure year. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to travel. You're going to get all this stuff. 24 years old. And I had such a hard time sleeping that night. I went to sleep and I called in the morning. I'm not showing up. Why? I don't want to motivate. I want to inspire. I don't want to be a motivational speaker. I want to inspire. And I will never forget that. Completely changed the way I viewed things. Because that night I was asking questions. And over the years I put a list of questions together that I ask about, figuring yourself out. And I won't share all of them with you, but what I'll do is I'll put a list of the questions that I'll share with you. Maybe we can put a link on the bottom to a website where you can go and see some of the questions, and maybe I'll put some of the other questions later on. But I'll make a list of it. You can click on the link bottom description. I'll make sure to ask some of the questions that I've asked myself all my life. But I wanted to be inspired. I wanted to be inspired. And you know what else is so crazy? You do as well. You also want to be inspired. You also want to go out there and do something special. And the best test to know about excitement, about motivation versus excitement is motivation versus inspiration is, how long do you stay excited? Do you need alarm clocks to wake you up? Inspiration, you don't need alarm clocks. You just flip and wake up in the morning because you're inspired. Because you're connecting the dots and you're realizing life has a bigger meaning to it than just making $1 million and driving a Ferrari or Porsche and Lamborghini. And there's nothing wrong with having all of that stuff. That's fine. But on your way to fulfilling a prophecy, your crusade, your cause, your vision, that's from here. That's from your life experience. That's from the crap that's happened to you. You can't tell me you go to sleep every night thinking you're supposed to be average and ordinary. You can't tell me that. I don't buy that. And I don't think you do either. And I think you need to ask yourself a lot more questions that lead to action, that leads to excitement for a long period of time, until your time comes that you pass away and you write a book and millions of people know about it and you fulfill your prophecy. But it won't happen by just trying to get motivated. And nothing wrong with being motivated. You need a lot of motivation. Believe me, motivation is a great thing. I'm not telling you, don't use the phrase "you can do it" or all this. No, not at all. That's needed. Every day we need motivation. Even a Martin Luther King who was inspired, he needed some people to motivate him at times, but he knew his prophecy, his calling was a bigger calling. Look what he did to the world. That's inspiration. If you want the list of questions, click on the link on the bottom. If you got any other questions about the message, your comments, please comment on the bottom. Feel free to ask any questions. We actually do read the questions and get back to you on the questions as well. But my challenge to you is really think about this. When you finish the video, don't go to another video. Just stay on it for a second and think about it. Ask the question, what do you want? What are you here for? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Not the other guys. Block everybody else. What's the reason why you're supposed to make money? Doesn't mean leave your job. It means use whatever money you're making to fulfill your calling. What is your calling? What is that private time when you're by yourself, upset, frustrated, ticked off? You want to curse out the world, but you really want to curse yourself out because you're so furious with yourself. And typically when you're furious with yourself, you kind of feel like you're not doing what's yours? What is your calling? What can you do to inspire you to take action? Go ahead and do that exercise privately, late at night with everybody away. You by yourself with you. And then whatever business you're in, whatever money you're making, use that money that you're making to fulfill your prophecy, to fulfill your calling. It's my message of the week to you. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel and also share the video with some people who would also get value from this message. Take care.